covering news that matters. Fox 23 News at 10 starts right now.
Local investigators accuse some parents of teaching their child to use drugs and to steal. I'm Clay Loney.
And I'm Shay Rozzi. Investigators say the 9-year-old boy carried out crimes even as he was being abused. Now investigative reporter Katie Higgins is live with how deputies uncovered all of this. Katie.
It all started with a complaint from a former addict. In this affidavit, that woman said that even she didn't think it was right when she saw the boy's parents beat him, teach him to steal, and let him use drugs.
Wow.
Those were the first words out of James Ward's mouth when I told him about Kimberly Broyles and Michael Whitaker. These two were arrested for allegedly forcing their 9-year-old son to steal from this Dollar General.
I'm at a loss for words to think that somebody would have their 9-year-old go in and steal things for them.
The same dollar store in Foyle that I found Ward at. The affidavit also says the parents let the 9-year-old smoke marijuana in their presence.
Shoot, the world is a dangerous place nowadays.
You don't expect parents to be creating the danger, right?
Correct.
A tipster told police in this affidavit that Whitaker kicked the boy in his back, neck, and head, all while the boy was curled in the fetal position, screaming for him to stop. Rogers County Sheriff Scott Walton said they raided the house and arrested the two.
His father calls him by name and tells him to run, which he does.
A deputy chased the little boy.
He runs from the deputies. He cusses and, uses deplorable language, doing just what he was taught to do.
The boy was taken into DHS custody, which Walton and Ward both say is for the best.
Yeah. Drugs are a struggle in this town.
Ward says this boy isn't the only drug-endangered kid close to home in Foyle.
It's a real problem in our community. It doesn't seem to be getting better whenever the parents are having their children do things like this.
There you go, yeah.
You can air that all day long.
Yeah. Ward is hoping it's not too late for this one.
I don't know what to say about it.
Whitaker and Broyles are both in the Rogers County Detention Center. Now, Walton told me that they are facing some very serious charges. Reporting live in Claremore, covering news that matters. I'm Katie Higgins, Fox 23 News.
A century-old water well discovered underneath a street in Wagner County. We first told you about this last night. Today, workers spent the day draining it and patching it up. New at 10, Fox 23's Hector Mejia is live explaining why they couldn't preserve the well instead. Hector.
County commissioners said they were afraid the inside lining of that well made up of dry stone might collapse and create an even bigger problem. A fascinating piece of history is now buried, filled with 20 feet of cement in Wagner County.
I'll always think about it.
Fox 23 showed you the inside of the hand-dug water well on Wednesday. You can see dry stacked stones making up its walls. It's in the Woodland Hills neighborhood.
It looked kind of like the inside of an old castle.
My husband discovered it.
Neighbor Stanley Morris found the sinkhole forming above it on 295th Street and stood there for more than 2 hours as he waited for a county crews to block it off.
And once the sun got up, you could see actually down in it without a flashlight. They're like 20 feet deep.
There's now a 3 by 3 foot fresh layer of cement covering this water well. Some neighbors say they're sad to see it go, but happy it's no longer a danger for some on the road. Commissioners shared these pictures of the water draining and then the patch-up process.
We've had kind of little sinkholes before, but this one was a little bit more serious.
County crews have now essentially closed a chapter of this area's history. Neighbors believe the well supplied water to a rest stop along a wagon road back in the mid-1800s. There's a water well nearby that's been preserved by a homeowner. Neighbors told me it wouldn't surprise them if they came across any more wells hidden underneath the streets. Reporting live, covering news that matters. Hector Mejia, Fox 23 News.
New at 10, police have made a second arrest in a rape case involving a privately owned corrections center in Turley. Tonight we learned police arrested Robert Coleman Sr. He's accused of raping a woman at the Turley Residential Center. Coleman is a former employee of CoreCivic, the company that runs the center. CoreCivic says it has a zero-tolerance policy and all employees are required to complete 80 hours of training, including a 2-hour unit focused on understanding the Prison Rape Elimination Act.
A police officer in Missouri is now on leave after shooting and killing a Tulsa man overnight. This case was the focus of our live coverage from Neosho on Fox 23 News at 5, and that's where police say they found 52-year-old Joshua Daniels drunk at a truck stop. Authorities say when an officer approached, Daniels pulled a gun and pointed it at the officer. That's when the officer fired killing Daniels. Something like this rarely happens in Neosho.
Very, very strange for one of our officers to even discharge their weapon, let alone to have to actually shoot somebody.
The Missouri Highway Patrol is now investigating this shooting. More details for you. There have been 6 deadly officer-involved shootings this year in Tulsa. All of last year, there were 7. The 13 deadly shootings have happened since June of 2016. You can find more details on these cases on fox23.com.
New at 10, Oklahoma's finance secretary says several state agencies will receive $34.6 million in leftover cash. We told you state leaders declared a revenue failure last fiscal year and a nearly $900 million budget shortfall, causing funding cuts for multiple state agencies. Now officials say since the fiscal year ended with some money left over, it will now be returned to state agencies. Tonight, 2 girls remain in the hospital following a crash on I-35 that killed a mother and 3 children. We told you Erin Van Horn, her son Zach, Beck Kitterman, and Lizzie Edwards died. Lauren Van Horn and Izzy Kitterman are still recovering in the hospital. If you missed the vigil in South Tulsa last night, there will be a prayer rally at the Jinx High School gym Friday night at 7. GoFundMe accounts for the families have raised more than $187,000 so far to help pay for funerals and medical expenses.
Today, IMSA issued a medical heat alert. Several cooling stations are open in Tulsa for you. Chief Meteorologist James Adelot is in the Fox 23 Severe Weather Center tracking this heat, James.
Yeah, and it rolls on. We're still holding at 90 officially at the airport, but the rest of the metro, except for Owasso and Kellyville, have at least dropped into the 80s right now. There's just not a whole lot further to fall. We'll start tomorrow morning in the lower 80s in the heart of Tulsa. Of course, we'll see some 70s outside of town, but 81 degrees in Tulsa gives us a head start. Back up close to 100 tomorrow afternoon. I'll let you know how long this heat will stick around and when you might need to have an umbrella on standby too.
Tulsa County deputies arrested a couple of men accused of having a meth lab in a tent and going after one of the deputies who uncovered it. Deputies arrested 43-year-old James Bowman and 52-year-old Curtis Barr. That was last night near 8th Street and 39th West Avenue. Deputies say they were patrolling that area when they smelled the chemicals and followed that smell to the tent.
Our deputy was hit multiple times. At one point, Mr. Barr went for the deputy's gun, which is one of the most frightening things that a deputy can encounter.
Yeah, deputies say when Barr couldn't get the gun, he went for a knife. Deputies eventually tackled Barr, took him and Bowman to jail. The deputy involved in that fight was not seriously hurt.
New at 10, a former Tulsa deputy charged with child sexual abuse is expected back in court next week. Fox 23 has followed the case against Josh Wood since July, when Wagner County investigators arrested him on accusations involving an 11-year-old. New charges were added after investigators say they found more than 200 images of child pornography in his home. Wood has pleaded not guilty. His preliminary hearing is scheduled for Monday, July 24th. You may want to take another route if you have to drive through Midtown Tulsa in the morning. We first told you about this water line break as breaking news on Fox 23 News this morning. Well, tonight, part of 11th Street remains closed because of the 6-inch line break. City officials say at least one lane will be closed for a few days to repair the road.
New at 10, a program in our area that helps veterans get critical treatment now is asking for your help. The Tulsa County Veterans Treatment Court wants to expand but cannot do so without additional volunteers. Fox 23's Lynn Casey joins us now with the program's success and what they need to keep it going. Lynn.
When this started, it was the first in Oklahoma and just the 3rd Veterans Treatment Court program in the entire nation. Now, after years of sky-high success rates, Tulsa County wants to let more veterans have this opportunity, but they'll need more peer mentors. With one of the highest success rates for a diversion program,
about 90%. That was the last I had heard.
Retired Navy man John Petherick says when a veteran gets into trouble, it can ask to be sent to Veterans Treatment Court. With extremely close supervision and strict rules in the 5-phase program, offenders have the opportunity to work to graduate from there rather than the alternative.
Many times jail, many times prison, where they would not get the counseling and help.
The resources for help can range from counseling to inpatient treatment. Throughout the process, each participant has their own personal mentor, another veteran, for moral support.
We're not counselors, we're not lawyers, We're just there to help them get through.
He says treatment courts have a practical benefit in an environment of constant state budget crisis.
When they work, they save a lot of money.
But even more importantly, he says they give veterans access to treatment they deserve.
It saves lives, can put families back together.
He describes watching the men and women he mentors taking their lives back as so powerful it restores his faith in humanity.
I believe in redemption. If you can help somebody redeem themselves, only from just a little bit, it just is just such a great feeling.
Now, of course, the success of this program has required years of commitment from the DA's office, the judges, also the counselors, as well as these mentors. So if you're a veteran and you'd like to play a role, we have a link with information on how on fox23.com. Reporting live in South Tulsa, covering news that matters, I'm Lynn Casey, Fox 23 News.
In a developing story, a local woman lost her home and a dog in a devastating fire in Sapulpa. When firefighters arrived on this scene near 61st and 49th West Avenue around 10 this morning, flames had already spread through the Sapulpa home. She says all she has left is just a few bags of personal items.
Trying to stop it at first, and then it just got out of hand.
Firefighters say one of her 2 dogs did not survive. 2 RVs and 1 truck were also wiped out by that fire.
Now to the developing story someone you're talking about today. After serving 9 years in prison, O.J. Simpson, expected soon to be a free man. Today, the Nevada Board of Parole Commissioners granted an early release for the former NFL great. Simpson found guilty in 2008 of kidnapping, armed robbery, and 10 other charges after he and a group of men robbed 2 sports memorabilia dealers at gunpoint in a Las Vegas hotel room. Today in court, Simpson apologized, saying he has paid his debt to society.
The Heat back with us tomorrow. I'll have the timeline of when that heat index will bounce back up above 100.
A crime of opportunity. A shocking item police say a man took from a car while a security camera was pointed at him.
And it matters to me to be a good teacher.
All new at 10, how people across the area are now rallying behind this local teacher with a big heart.